Hello and welcome to this collective reading. I hope you're all well. My name is Dylan and I'm a tarot reader, astrologer and healer from the UK, and today I'm going to pull some cards for the collective. And the way that this works is that if you feel drawn to this reading, if you found yourself here, then it's very likely that there will be some messages for you because you're in resonance with this reading. So we're an energetic match at the moment, and you're an energetic match to the messages that come through these cards. So I'm going to be working with the Forest Fae Oracle. I'm going to pull one of these at the beginning, sorry for the glare. And then I'm going to be working with the Wildwood Tarot, which is kind of my deck of choice at the moment. So let's see what wants to come through from the Oracle cards. I really love this deck, by the way. I received this as a birthday present this year. And the artwork's really beautiful, so I highly recommend it. Also highly recommend the Wildwood Tarot as well. Oh, so our card's popping out. The Forest Walker. Keep courage, be gentle. This is actually very interesting that this has come out because I've been having a lot of conversations lately about the power of gentleness and being a gentle presence in the world, being a gentle soul, helping people, being someone that people can feel safe with, being a very, like I said, like a very gentle presence. But yet, you know, that also brings a great deal of strength. Gentleness isn't weakness. It's a very, very strong position to be in. If you can hold space for others with gentleness, you're actually holding great strength at the same time. And we're also being encouraged at the moment to be very gentle with ourselves. So what I'm picking up on now, and this might be because of my drum birthing and working with Deerskin recently and Ellen of the Ways, I'm feeling like that deer stag kind of axis, the masculine and feminine, or feminine masculine, whichever way around we're going, and the deer, the gentleness, the nurturing, that softness, that kind of energy. And then also, and I'm noticing that the figure in this card has antlers as well, which isn't surprising. And then the stag, which is very representative of strength and courage and nobility and just this very strong leadership quality. So bringing these two elements together, like the feminine and the masculine, your deer and your stag elements within, or whichever animals you connect with, can be very powerful. There's great strength in gentleness. I feel like that's what the message is from this card. And I'm really feeling here as well that the bird in this card is being nurtured by the figure here that's carrying the bird. There's a real bond there. And for some of you, I feel like this is to do with you having a bond with a certain animal, maybe a pet. It could be that you have a bond with a power animal or spirit animal that you work with very closely. But there's definitely like a connection to animals that I'm picking up on here, which is really acting as a very healing presence for many of you at this time. And if you're not feeling that at the moment, maybe kind of seek that out. You know, if you enjoy the company of animals but you don't have them around you at the moment, maybe you can visit somewhere where there are animals that you can connect with, or you have a family member who has animals, or a friend, and just to be around them and to feel that gentleness and that authenticity that animals bring. You can also start to invite in any animal helper spirits that might want to assist you at this time, either through shamanic journeying or simply setting the intention. And you never know, you might actually attract an animal into your life through that intention. I know many people who have expressed that they would love to have a cat, for example, and then a cat turns up on their doorstep, or someone offers them a cat that they can't take care of anymore. It happens with dogs as well. So yeah, there's some really lovely messages coming through with this card. It's been an interesting experience recently with a lot of the astrology and things that have been going on. It's a little bit like sometimes being in a washing machine. That's sometimes how I refer to it, when sometimes you don't know which way's up and then things change. There was a really strong changeable energy for a couple of months earlier this year that was very, very strong. It seems to have settled a little bit now. We're out of eclipse season. There's another one to come later in the year, but now it's more of a it's more of a, I want to say, almost like processing but healing through whatever came up around the time of the eclipses. We've got Mercury retrograde coming up very soon. He's in shadow phase. He is inviting us to revisit some things and to go over some things, particularly feeling this around relationships and how we relate to others at the moment because of the Libran connection. He's in Libra at the moment. And also like this Mars in Gemini energy as well, which is quite, I'm getting like quite a static energy from that, and that can be a lot, particularly if we have a lot of Mars placements in our chart, a lot of Mars energy. For example, I have Sun, Moon, Rising, Aries, and I have a stellium in Scorpio. So with Mars being the original traditional ruler of Scorpio, I've got a lot of Mars in my chart. So Mars moving into Gemini, I'm having like an effect from that, from the energies of Gemini season, or the Gemini portion of the astrological wheel. So it's a good idea to have a look at your chart as well with whatever's happening with the astrology and see how that applies to you and your life and your own personal energy, because we're all different. Let's see. Let's pull some cards from the Wildwood Tarot. Yeah, interesting. We've got the Journey. And, you know, this is the Death card. You can definitely see that this is the Death card in this deck. And I like that it's called the Journey, because it's that moving on. It's not like the end, whereas being called the Death card can seem very, very final, like dead, gone. But the Journey, I really like how they've used that word in this deck, because it's, when we experience a death, we also experience a rebirth. When we transition through something, we come to the end of it, then we move into another cycle and we open something else. You know, as energy leaves us, we make more space for new energy to come in. But this can be quite a brutal experience at times, energetically, particularly if we're holding on to something quite tightly. Having the eclipse seasons this year on the Taurus-Scorpio axis has been particularly intense, and so endings can be painful, or they can be just like a very deeply felt experience with that Scorpio influence there. But what came through then is that we're actually being invited to move away from this intense experience, though, because we've got the North Node in Taurus and the South Node in Scorpio. So the South Node is what we are moving away from and releasing. So we're releasing that kind of really heavy, intense, deep shadow work. And I've talked about this before. Not to say that we won't ever do shadow work again, because it is very, very helpful. But I feel that many of us, particularly the people here who are watching this video, and myself, have been through years of very deep shadow work, and years of, even if it's not like consciously, if you haven't been setting the intention to do shadow work as it's termed, if you've just been moving through a rough time and processing that, you know, it's still the same thing, but you can work with it intentionally as well. It's a lot of healing, it's a lot of shifting, it's a lot of things coming up and having to look at them. So I feel like with this North Node in Taurus, it's like moving us into a space of more stability, and that doesn't mean to say that we won't still be leaving things behind in the future. But what I'm picking up on is that now that we've had a taste of that, now that we've had a real taste of that depth within ourselves, we've actually found a more stable, secure platform or foundation for ourselves to do the work from. And in a way, like, that's the whole point of shadow work, is to reintegrate and to remember, like pull ourselves back together, pull these disparate parts back in, pull these aspects back in, and reclaim ourselves in order to be stronger. Because if we've reclaimed a lot of our energy and we're pulling that back in, and we're able to assimilate that and bring it back into ourselves, then we're kind of more substance. We are more of ourselves than we've ever been before. So that feels like quite a strong message for this time. I noticed the full moon in that card as well, and we are heading towards a full moon in Pisces, which is a particularly sensitive full moon. I remember talking about this last year in great depth in one of my videos. So I'll be sure to talk about that more in my next full moon video. Let's get another card. Yeah, so we've got the Eight of Vessels, which is rebirth. So perfect. The Eight of Vessels or the Eight of Cups is often, a depiction of moving away from something and moving on, walking away. So it doesn't really surprise me that this came out. And both of these cards came out in reverse, by the way. It's interesting the way that I work with reversals, because I find that the reverse message is also in the upright, and I don't tend to separate them out too much, if you know what I mean. But they were both in reverse when they came out. It's just easier for me to talk about them if I'm holding them upright. So with them being in reverse, there could be a theme of not wanting to let go of something, of not wanting to change, of not wanting to embrace a new way of life, particularly with this being the rebirth card. We are moving towards new beginnings, but that also means leaving things behind. And I feel like I talk about this all the time, but it's true. It's like an endless cycle of endings and beginnings. That's what our life is, and that's how we move through life. So I feel like it's really important, like I'm noticing with these cups here, these chalices, these vessels, that there are three of them pouring into this larger vessel, and then it's overflowing. So I want to say that it's really important to be refilling ourselves at the moment, because it can be very tiring moving through lots of shifts, and this year has been particularly challenging for a lot of people, and I feel like I've said that for the past few years, but maybe even 5 years. But we need to remember to keep doing the things that keep us level, that keep us topped up, whether that be just sitting in the garden for 5 to 10 minutes, getting your feet on the ground, whether that be stroking the cat, playing with the dog, taking the dog for a walk, cooking a nice meal, having a bath, having a really nice long shower, treating yourself to something nice to eat, or even some new clothes. Sometimes, we can feel a lot better in ourselves, or having our hair trimmed, or cut, or just anything that helps us to feel a bit better in ourselves. And I think sometimes in the spiritual community we can negate that sometimes, and people can kind of see that as just being materialistic or being too bothered about physical appearance. But if it feels good to you to put makeup on, or get a haircut, or buy yourself something new to wear that makes you feel really good, if that feels good to you, then do it. If that fills your cup, then absolutely treat yourself to any of those things. And there are no rules as to how you can fill your own cup. Everybody's got a different way of doing it. Some of us have similar things. For example, for me, something that really fills my cup is to go somewhere that I haven't been before, maybe walk alongside the river somewhere, go and investigate an old church or some ruins or a sacred site, some stones, as you probably all know. And that brings me happiness and joy, and it helps me to feel free, fills my cup, and then I can continue doing the work that I do, which is very much, in service to other people. Whether that be through the work that I do as a healer, a reader, and an astrologer, or whether that be the other work that I do in the ways that I travel, taking care of pets and that kind of thing. It's all based around service. And I know a lot of you who watch my videos also tend to work in service, or if it's not what you do as a profession or a career, then it's going to be something that you just do in your everyday life, and you are a nurturer, for example. If you're a nurturer and you're a giver naturally by nature, you need to remember to fill your own cup. And this is a message, again, another message that I feel like I say all the time, but we all forget from time to time, and we leak energy and we give too much away, when really we need to be conserving it for ourselves, particularly if you can feel that you're going through a transition. and you're going through a time where you feel a bit wobbly, a little bit unstable. You know, there's still that Uranus in Taurus going on, which has been very destabilizing. Uranus shaking things up and Taurus being like that stable foundation. If you're feeling that, then you're going to need to be putting more energy into yourself. Like I said, you know, drawing these parts back in, these aspects, calling your energy back, gives you a firm platform, a firm foundation to be able to go out into the world when you feel to and make an impact and make a difference. Let's see, another card. Beautiful. I actually posted a story last night with some swans in. So this is the Queen of Vessels, Swan. And to me this feels like, particularly moving towards the Pisces full moon, gracefully moving through feelings and emotions. So it might not feel graceful sometimes when some things come up, but it's that gentleness again. It's tapping into that gentleness within yourself to be able to nurture yourself. The swan here is gliding along, but I often describe myself in this way where, like, everyone's like, oh, you're so chill, you're so calm, you're so, you know, you're so relaxed. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm like a swan. You can see that on the surface, but underneath, like, my feet are going like this and paddling, and it's a bit more effort than may meet the eye, you know, when people are watching my videos, for example. So you may feel like this as well, where you're kind of moving through life, and you can glide through life, but there's still effort going on underneath. Just because we have spiritual awareness and we move through life in a more conscious and aware way, and we're more awake to things, doesn't mean that that makes life easier. And I've talked about this before as well, where actually it can sometimes make life more difficult because we have to start saying no to things, we have to start having boundaries, we have to enforce those boundaries, we have to then live from a place of integrity. So there may be things that you might have just done in the past where you're like, oh well, it doesn't matter, I'll just do that, and maybe I'll regret it, but it'll be fine. And maybe someone might get hurt, but actually it'll be worth it because I'll get to meet my needs or get some kind of gratification. And then you feel like crap after. And now, like, as we move into a broader awareness and we move through life with more integrity, there's then a difficulty around that where we don't feel right when we pursue those things. So kind of gone off on a tangent there, but yeah, there's a lot of work that goes on underneath in terms of maintaining that level of integrity or that level of truth or that level of presence, the level of dedication that you might be putting into your work and not necessarily seeing fruition straight away, and, you know, not reaping the harvest straight away. It can be frustrating, and that's when, like, these feet are still going underneath, but to others it may seem as though you've got everything sorted and you're fine, and you know what you're doing. And a lot of the time when we're moving into new territory, we don't necessarily know what we're doing, and that can bring up fear, uncertainty, and again, that's when we need to be gentle with ourselves. So I'm feeling to pull another card because I'm not on Instagram and I don't run out of time on YouTube. Let's see. Yeah, so this is in reverse as well. I'm going to show it upright. It's got standing stones on it, which I like. Healing. The Seven of Stones. And quite often, I'm thinking of the Seven of Pentacles because this is representative of Pentacles in the traditional tarot. I'm thinking of the patience aspect of the Seven of Pentacles in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, for example, where the man is kind of watching the fruits grow, or the squash or whatever's growing. He's got a vine there that's growing actually, and they're not ready yet. He's watching them grow and he's having to be patient about that. And So with this being a card that's called healing, I want to say be patient with yourself. This is actually a message that came up for me recently during a journey that I did within a class that I'm attending, a membership that I'm a part of, which is through Sacred Earth Grove on Instagram. If you want to check that out, Sacred Sights and Stories, it's really, really good and I'm really enjoying it. During the practice in our last circle online, I picked up this message about needing to be patient. And not patience in the sense of waiting for something to happen, but patience with ourselves. Patience with ourselves as we heal, because there are some very deep things stirring at the moment. And I mentioned in my last Instagram video that I'm working a lot with women who are healing energies, like stuck energies or trauma or wounding around their womb space. And this is deep healing, and this is actually healing Mother Earth at the same time. For each woman who heals her femininity, her fertility, her creativity, her sense of place in the world, and her sense of power and who she is, all of those things, every time that is healed within another woman, or you can extend this to men as well, any of the healing that any of us do, this has an impact on the energy of the planet. And this is deep stuff that's going on at the moment. You know, the cards that I've pulled, we've got rebirth, we've got this overflowing energy. Again, we've got that vessel, which is a very feminine energy. We've got the journey, which is death, which is moving on. We're letting go of things and we're releasing. And then we've got the swan, you know, helping us to glide through these things. But these are all quite strong and powerful cards, and this is a strong and powerful time. So give yourself time to heal. You don't have to bulldoze through it. I feel like sometimes in the spiritual community, particularly around shadow work and going deep and diving deep, we can push ourselves to heal more and more, but really what I'm feeling is this need for patience. You'll notice this tree in the background here it's either dead or it's in winter time. It has no leaves on it. It looks like it could be dead. And again, we've got this regeneration then, because we've got this green man kind of figure here, or green woman, could be a green woman, I think, bringing that back to life then, because the leaves here are green, and the man in the card is resting. He's laid down his spear. It's about not fighting things. It's about not pushing and fighting. And believe me, as an Aries, I know all about that with all of the Mars energy. It's not about pushing yourself through it. It's about nurturing yourself through it. It's about loving yourself through it. So, strong and powerful messages for this reading. Doesn't surprise me at all. I'm very grateful to you all for being here. I hope you found something useful within this video. And if you'd like to book in for a personal private reading, then you can do that via the links below in the description box. There's also a link to my Instagram where I post cards and various other posts on there and stories about healing, growth, expansion, all kinds of things, astrology, tarot, anything that I feel inspired to share. So I'm sending you all so much love. Take good care of yourselves. It's a potent time on the planet, and we need rest, we need love, and we need gentleness. And in that we will find our strength. I'll speak to you all soon, and thanks for joining me. Much love. Bye-bye.